Here it gives meningia media, which goes through foramen spinosum into the skull cavity, middle, into the arteria meningia media. Ну ладно, meningia media goes to the skull cavity, middle cranial fossa. In the in pterygoid portion, here it is also gives two arteries, small arteries. Revise this. Here gives branches to all mastication, muscles of mastication. Pterygoid medialis, pterygoid lateralis, masseter, temporalis branches, and also buccalis artery, supplies buccalis artery. And then in last portion, pterygopalatine fossa, it gives branches. Arteria palatina descendens through the canalis palatinus major go to the pellet. Through foramen sphenopalatinem, which is view from inside, it from here goes to the nasal cavity. Arteria sphenopalatина supplies the posterior, superior, inferior part of the nasal cavity. Palatina descendens. Palatina descendens gives also arteria canalis pterygoidae to the back, to the upper part of the pharynx and pharyngeal tonsil, and also gives arteria infraorbitalis. From here goes through the fissura orbitalis inferior, sulcus canalis sulcus infraorbitalis, foramen infraorbitale, anterior part of the face rises, arteria infraorbitalis, one of the end branches of this artery. Internal carotid artery. On the neck, it has not any branches. You can distinguish these arteries, external, internal. External gives branches, internal has not branches. Despite it lies at first more medially, internal, then externally, and then goes more medially. At first laterally, then goes medially together with vena jugularis interna accompanied, and goes from the upper margin of thyroid cartilage to the base of the skull, and through foramen caroticum of the skull, on the base of the skull, it passes inside the temporal bone. Canalis caroticus of the temporal bone, and here it passes in the skull cavity, passes under the cavernous venous sinus on both sides of the sella turcica. Here it gives arteria ophthalmica through canalis opticus, optic canal, to the eyeball. This ophthalmic artery supplies all structure of the eye. Muscles, lacrimal gland, all three coats of the eye, connective tissue here supplies, and arises from the leaves the orbital cavity as arteria palpebra medialis and arteria dorsalis nasi. Number 13, dorsalis palpebralis lateralis, and what is dorsalis? Lateralis here, medialis. Medial side is lacrimal gland here. Medial. It is arteria dorsalis nasi and palpebra medialis. Да? Palpebra medialis, and they are end branches of the ophthalmic artery. Palpebra medialis and arteria dorsalis nasi. Dorsum nasi is this part of the nose and forms junction with anastomosis with arteria angularis. After supplement of the eyeball, it supplies brain. This continuation on the base of the brain supplies anterior cerebral artery, middle cerebral artery, posterior communicate branches. Supplies main part of the brain. Next part of the posterior part of the brain is supplied from another artery, from the subclavian. Thus, internal carotid, when it passes, what part it has? Internal carotid has cervical portion from site of origin until foramen caroticum externum. Branches has not. Second part, petrous part, it passes through petrous part of the temporal bone in canalis caroticus, in the pyramid of the temporal bone. Here it supplies the carotica tympanic arteries to the tympanic cavity. Then cavernous part, it passes under the sinus cavernosus. Here it gives arteria ophthalmica. And the last portion is cerebral part. Here it supplies the brain. And for the brain, you must know the picture of the brain. This carotid interna artery on both sides. After cutting of the brain, this arteria carotis interna, the artery, it gives two anterior cerebral arteries to the anterior part of the brain. Between them, we have arteria communicans anterior. Anterior communicans artery. Где артерия церебри. Там уже открытая аудитория, да? Да. Когда в лекции аудитория будет открыта? Уже, то есть закончила Елена Евгеньевна? Все, я иду тогда, вот заканчиваю. Да. Артерия communicans posterior. Communicans posterior. They are from arteria carotis. These branches from carotis interna. Anterior cerebral, anterior communicans, and posterior communicans. So, it is from carotid artery. From subclavian artery. Now, subclavian. I finish common carotid and subclavian artery. Arc-shaped artery. It arises on left side. Do you remember? Directly from arch of aorta. On right side from brachiocephalic trunk. Then it passes from site of origin. It goes in interscalene space between scalenus anterior. From site of origin, it goes in between scalene muscle in interscalene space below of the brachial plexus, and leaves this space, and then it passes in sulcus arteria subclavia of the first rib, and from external margin of the first rib, just from here, continues as axillary artery. On upper limb continues. Axillary artery, this. Arteria axillaris continues on upper limb. The subclavian has free portion before interscalene space, in interscalene space, and after interscalene space. And if this artery gives several branches. In first space, it gives thyrocervical trunk to the thyroid gland, to the esophagus trachea in cervical part, and larynx also low part, and to the cervical muscle, cervicalis superficialis, ascendens suprascapularis. Thoracica interna to the thoracic cavity, it gives some suprascapular branch. In this space also gives arteria vertebralis, this artery, arteria vertebralis. This arteria vertebralis passes through foramen magnum into the vertebral column. Two arteria vertebralis comes to the skull cavity, two arteria vertebralis. From what artery they come? Arteria vertebralis from arteria subclavia, from subclavia. Our brain is supplied from two arteries, from this and from this. From carotid interna and from subclavia. Subclavia gives vertebralis. Vertebralis when pass into the brain, into the skull cavity, two arteria vertebralis, dextra, sinistra. Here, on the base of the brain, they join together. On the base of the brain, join together. Form arteria on the base. Arteria basilaris. Basilaris gives end branch. No, by the way, it gives many arteries, but end branch is arteria cerebri posterior. Arteria cerebri posterior. What artery is this? Arteria cerebri anterior, communicans anterior, and communicans posterior. They are from arteria carotis interna until this part. They form anastomose with cerebri posterior from basilaris, from vertebralis, from subclavian. This is called circulus arteriosus cerebri. Vilisi is anatomist oldest who described this, of Vilisi. Circulus arteriosus cerebri of Vilisi. Vilisial circle, this, which supplied the very important organ, ring-shaped, this anastomose, brain. If one artery is occluded through this ring, it is supplied. And here also we have vertebralis gives two arteria spinalis anterior. Arteria spinalis anterior. Together with vertebralis, they form ring circulus of Zakharchenko, Russian of Zakharchenko. KH, Zakharchenko. Вот так. Ладно, сами. But this is very important for the medulla oblongata. Here are also principal centers are located. The subclavian artery free portions and their branches you will study. This vertebralis, thyrocervical, thoracica interna in first space. In second, interscalene space, in this space. It gives costocervical trunk, this artery, to the deep cervical muscle and first and second intercostal spaces. That is why thoracic aorta starts from the foot intercostal. And after this, it gives arteria cervicale colli transversa, arteria transversa cervicis. It continues with arteria axillaris. That's your home task. Branches of carotis externa, 9 carotis interna, supplies what organ? Eyeball. All arteries you don't study. Only name the muscle, lacrimal glands, and end branches of ophthalmic artery. And supplies the brain, eyeball, and tympanic cavity. Carotis interna. Carotis externa supplies all external organs and soft tissues of the head and neck. Come from common carotid. Subclavian supplies muscles of the lower part of the neck and organs lower part of the neck and also thoracic cavity. And on left side it is about 12 centimeters. On right it is shorter because starts from brachiocephalic 8 centimeters. It has first part, second part, and third. In third part, first 3 arteries give, second 1 artery, third 1 artery, and continues with axillary, goes to the upper limb. Your home task: thoracic aorta, abdominal aorta, and arteries of the arch of aorta. Arch and thoracic abdominal. But lecture will be forward. Who's finished? Today is so hard day for me. I will non-stop.